After 1,505 days, we have finally received new volcanic support, and it's actually not that bad. In today's video, I'm going to go through what all the new cards do, and then I'm going to show you 3 combos you can do with the new cards, which end on relatively okay boards. So we're going to start off with Volcanic Trooper. Volcanic Trooper is a level 3 Pyro, and it has the effect that if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Volcanic card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of himself, or another copy of the trap, I think is going to be in the text. Not the Volcanic trap, but the trap for Jurassic World. I've seen that in some of the card text for this card. This custom card that somebody else has made doesn't include that, but I believe you can't add that specific Volcanic trap off this card. It has a second effect where you can discard 1 card and special summon a bomb token, which is definitely not going to make it to the TCG. That name will definitely be changed to something else. To your opponent's side of the field, and when that token is destroyed, they take 500 damage, which is pretty cool. The second new card is Volcanic Rimfire. This card has technically 2 effects, but it is 1 effect. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can activate one of these effects, banish this card from your graveyard, and if you do, send a Volcanic monster from your deck to the graveyard, except for another copy of itself. Or you can banish 1 Blaze Accelerator card from your face-up field or graveyard, and if you do, place a Blaze Accelerator continuous spell or trap from your hand or deck face-up in your spell and trap zone. You can only use each effect of this card's name once per turn, so if you are able to send 2 Rimfires to the graveyard over the course of your turn, you can actually apply both of these effects, despite the fact that it is 1 effect, which is kind of once per turn. It's weird writing on the card. I imagine it'll be changed to make it seem a little bit more obvious that you can do that. But this is going to allow you to send all your Volcanic cards to the graveyard and get your Blaze Accelerator cards if you have some set up. We then have Volcanic Emperor, which is the boss monster of the set, and it's actually quite good. So it cannot be normal summoned or set, and it must be special summoned from your hand or your graveyard by banishing either 3 Pyro monsters or 1 Blaze Accelerator card from your face-up field and or graveyard. So you can banish 3 of your Volcanic monsters, special summon this card, or you can just banish a single Blaze Accelerator card from your graveyard or field to special summon himself. When this card is special summoned by this way, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each banished Pyro monster. Then you can set 1 Volcanic trap directly from your deck. Has a third effect where each time your opponent special summons a monster, inflict 500 damage to them. So this gets to the trap card, which we'll speak about now, and that is Volcanic Inferno. Has 2 effects. When a monster your opponent controls activates its effect, you can banish a Pyro monster from your graveyard, inflict 500 damage to your opponents. Then, if you banish specifically a Volcanic monster, you can negate that effect activation. So it's protocol, I guess, like Algei's protocol, but it's just a monster negate that gets to banish cards from graveyard and do burn damage, which is pretty strong. During your opponent's end phase, you can target up to 2 of your Volcanic monsters that are banished or in your graveyard and place them on the bottom of the deck in any order. This is quite cool because the deck has always kind of struggled with having to put their cards back into the deck to be able to keep going, because obviously shell, add shell, add shell, but as soon as you get all 3 in the graveyard, you can't then add because you have no more on the deck. And Scattershot obviously sends itself and another 2 copies from the deck or hand to be able to regate your opponents. So you need to be able to put these back into the deck to be able to use that effect on the next turn, and the next turn, and the next turn. So the fact that this trap card enables you to be able to recycle those cards, not just from graveyard, but also from the banished, is quite strong. Alexa, stop. Sorry, I have no idea why Alexa decided to play music there. High School Musical, I believe. Anyway, we will go on to the spell cards. So we have a new Blaze Accelerator card, and that is Volcanic Blaze Accelerator. Activate this card by sending 1 Blaze Accelerator from your hand, deck, or face-up field to the graveyard. The way this is worded, it does mean you are sending the original Blaze Accelerator and you can't send any of the other ones. It would be a little bit cracked if you could send Blaze Accelerator Reload to the graveyard to activate this and then banish this to send a Volcanic, but unfortunately with the way this is worded, you have to send the original. This does also sound like a cost. You activate this card by sending a Blaze Accelerator from your hand, deck, or face-up field to the graveyard. So this doesn't activate, so can't be ashed on this effect, which is quite strong. You can only control 1 of Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, And once per turn, you can special summon one volcanic monster from your hand, which is pretty strong. And you can also, if we can flip over here, once per turn, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, send a level 1 Pyro monster from your deck to the graveyard, and if you do, destroy that target. So this is just a pop, which is quite strong, the same as the original Blazing Accelerator, I think, was also a pop. Yeah, it is, so it does the exact same thing as that. But this now can send either Shell, and you can then pay 500 to add another Shell from your deck to your hand if you need a monster, or it can send Rimfire, which can then either banish the Blazing Accelerator card to get a different Blazing Accelerator, or it can send a Volcanic monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is very, very good. We have Volcanic Ejection. You can only activate one Volcanic Ejection per turn, send a Pyro monster from your deck to the graveyard, then, if it's a Volcanic monster, you can apply one of these effects. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to its level times 100. In the case of Emperor, that would be quite large, doing 800 damage. I say quite large, 800 is not amazing, but it's still something, especially with all the other effects doing like 500 here and there, and him also doing 500 damage. Or you can special summon one bomb token to your opponent's field, and when that token is destroyed, its controller takes 500 damage. Again, bomb token is definitely not going to be making it to the TCG. That will definitely be changed. But this allows you to get a token on your opponent's board so you can pop your Blazing Accelerators to be able to do your combos turn 1 as well as obviously Trooper doing the same thing. So that is all the new cards. I'm quickly going to run over what all the old cards do, just in case you're not too aware. Volcanic Rocket allows you to add a Blaze Accelerator card from your deck to your hand. Scattershot, when it's sent to the graveyard by the effect of a Blaze Accelerator card, you can send 2 Volcanic Scattershots from your hand or deck to the graveyard to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. And also, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to inflict 500 damage to your opponent. So that also Regekis your opponent and does 1500, which is really, really strong. Shell, pay 500, add a Volcanic Shell if this card is in your graveyard. Volcanic Queen is a really weird kaiju. I've included it here because it's technically searchable and you might want an out to Arise Heart. So sure, Volcanic Queen's in here. OG Blazing Accelerator, we're never going to be using this card's effect. Foolish Burial goods. Foolish Burial can obviously send the Rimfire, which can send another guy, or you can send the Emperor to be able to special summon it from the graveyard. Foolish Burial goods can send Blazing Accelerator Reload, which we'll get to in a second. Duel Academy is a really interesting card to be able to play into this deck. We've been looking for a way to play this card for a while, and it has a plethora of effects. We're only concerned about the first one. This card gains these effects based on the monster types on the field. If you control Warrior, Beast, or a Pyro, once per turn, if you activate a trap card, except during the damage step, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy it. So, if you control a Volcanic card, you have Duel Academy on the field, and you activate, say, Volcanic Inferno, you get to pop a card your opponent controls, which is quite strong. It also gets other effects depending on what monsters are on the field. None of them are all that relevant, but it does gain the effects if the monster types are on the field. You don't have to specifically control them, so maybe read the rest of the card and find out what they do. Pot of Avarice, as I was saying earlier, you want to be able to get your monsters back into the deck so you can keep recurring and using their effects. Pot of Avarice draws 2, and it also does that. Blaze Accelerator Reload, its name becomes Tri-Blaze Accelerator while it's in the spawn trap zone, and during either player's main phase, you can send a Volcanic card from your hand to the graveyard, and if you do, draw 1 card. This is quite strong. That triggers Scattershot, obviously, to be able to send 2 and Regeki. You can Blaze Accelerator Reload, discard Shell, add Shell, draw, so you're going plus those there. But it's the graveyard effect that we care the most about. During either player's main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and send a Volcanic card from your deck to the graveyard. This also triggers Scattershot, and because it's a trap, you can use it in either player's main phase. So you can banish this card in your opponent's main phase, send a Scattershot triggers to send another 2 Scattershots and destroy all monsters your opponent controls. And there are plenty of ways of getting this into the graveyard, either in Engine or by Foolish Burial goods. I'm also into playing 3 goes a match with 3 Rivalry Warlords, because all of these monsters are Fire Pyros and there's no other types or attributes in the main deck. Extra deck, I just threw this together. 2 Zeus, 2 Dana Magician, 2 Assembled Nightingales. You could technically make this with the Shells and the Rimfires. Baguska, technically can make it with 2 Rockets. Access Code, Appaloosa, Heater, you're playing a fire deck. IEP Masquerader and Unicorn, which we definitely use in some of the combos. Nightmare Phoenix, Underworld Goddess, and Salamangreat Great Almirage. Sometimes you just want to get a monster in the graveyard to be able to use the trap card to negate. So that's why that's there. Right, without further ado, let's get into the 3 combos. We don't want to do that one first. Not that one. I'll put these all the wrong orders. We're going to start off with Trooper plus any discard. So we're going to normal summon our Trooper and use the effect to add the new Blaze Accelerator card from our deck to our hand, and we're going to activate it by sending Blaze Accelerator from the deck to the graveyard. We're then going to use Trooper's second effect, discarding this random card in our hand to give our opponent a token, and then we can use the Blaze Accelerator to send a level 1 Volcanic from our deck to the graveyard to pop that monster. Unfortunately, on Dueling Book, you can't pop monsters on your opponent's side of the field, so this token is just going to sit here. Rimfire is then going to trigger, allowing us to banish it to send a copy of Volcanic Emperor from the deck to the graveyard, and then we can banish the Blaze Accelerator in our graveyard to special summon this Emperor, use the effect to burn for 500, and set the trap from the deck to the field, and then we can link off this Trooper for a copy of Salamangreat Almirage to have the Trooper in graveyard to fuel our Volcanic Inferno. So just off of one card to the discard, we've managed to get to Emperor, which is going to be burning our opponent for 500 every time they special summon, which has also got us to the trap, which is the monster negate. And that's about it, to be perfectly honest. Like, the one-card combos in this deck aren't very good. It's the two-card combos where things start to get interesting. So this is Rocket and Trooper with no other discard. So imagine you've been hand looped for 4 and you don't have another card to discard. Normal Summon Rocket, use the effect to search for a copy of Volcanic Blaze Accelerator. We can then activate Volcanic Blaze Accelerator, sending the Blaze Accelerator from deck to graveyard, and then we can use the effect of Volcanic Blaze Accelerator to special summon Trooper from our hand. We can then, of course, use the Trooper to add to our hand a copy of Volcanic Rimfire. We're then going to use the Trooper, discarding the Rimfire to special summon a token to our opponent's side of the field, and then we can trigger the Rimfire since it was sent to graveyard to banish itself and send a copy of Emperor from the deck to the grave. From here, we can banish the Blaze Accelerator to special summon the Emperor, and use the effect to burn our opponent for 500 and set the trap from our deck. From here, we can link off our 2 monsters for a copy of IP Masquerader. We can then use the Volcanic Blaze Accelerator to pop the token, sending a copy of Shell from the deck to the graveyard, and then use the Shell to add a copy of Shell to our hand at the cost of 500 life points, so we have a discard for Nightmare Unicorn. So in our opponent's turn, we can IP Masquerader away the Emperor and go for a Unicorn, spin the card our opponent controls, as well as also having the trap in our graveyard. This setup means that we have 4 Volcanic cards in our graveyard that aren't Emperor, so we can summon this back in our next turn, and also we get to keep the Shell as well, so we can search for another card, and we could technically send the Volcanic Blaze Accelerator from our spell and trap zone instead of banishing our cards as well, which is if we like top deck Navarus or something like that. So we do have follow-up, is basically what I'm trying to say. Going into the third combo, this is if we have Rocket, Trooper, and any card we can discard, in this case Gozo Match again. So we're going to start off by normal summoning Trooper this time and use the effect to search for a copy of Volcanic Blaze Accelerator. From here, we'll do what we normally do and activate the Accelerator, sending the OG Accelerator, and using the effect to get the special summon for a Volcanic Rocket, which we can use to add a copy of Blaze Accelerator Reload. From here, we can use Trooper, discarding the Blaze Accelerator Reload and special summoning a token to our opponent's side of the field, and then using the Accelerator in our spell trap zone to pop the token, sending a copy of Fire. From here, we can activate the Ringfire and send from our deck to the graveyard a copy of Emperor, banishing the copy of the original Blaze Accelerator in our graveyard to special summon him back, and definitely remembering to apply the effect to burn for 500 and place the trap, and then linking off our Rocket and our Trooper to go into an IP Masquerader. In our opponent's turn, we have the trap, which is a monster negate. We can use the Emperor to burn for our opponent's special summons, and again, we can IP Masquerader for a copy of Unicorn and spin a card away. What we have in this combo, which didn't have in the last one, is we have the Blaze Accelerator Reload in our graveyard. So during our opponent's main phase, we can use the effect, and we can banish it to send from our deck to our graveyard a copy of Scattershot, which will of course trigger the Scattershot to send 2 other copies of Scattershot to the graveyard, and Regeki our opponent's board. Also doing 1500 burn damage in the process, so we've done, 2,500 damage over the course of this turn, not including the special summons our opponent may have made. And of course, we still have the follow-up and being able to special summon back our Volcanic Emperor by banishing these Scattershots, and we can also use the Inferno to put the Scattershots back into the deck so we can use them again next turn, potentially. So those are the 3 combos that I came up with today. The cards only got announced, I think, at like 6 o'clock this morning, so I haven't had an incredible amount of time to come up with these combos. There may be ones I'm missing, there may be ones that you are seeing that I'm not. If you do see any improvements to any of the combos that I've made, please make sure to let me know in the comments down below. And if you did enjoy the video, I really would appreciate it if you left a like, subscribe for more content. I think we're going to do some more interesting stuff with Volcanics going forward rather than just pure. Maybe a little bit of like a Shizu Terralement Volcanic, or maybe something like Volcanic Eldritch. Who the hell knows what we're going to do with this deck, to be perfectly honest. But I think there's definitely something here that we can apply to the TCG metagame. Anyway, like I said, if you enjoyed, please react to the video, and I will see you guys next time. See you later.